You're listening to After the Bell with Marlena, and if you know what's good for you, you'll take some advice from my friend Chris Jericho.
Would you please shut the hell up?
All I've ever really wanted is this little microphone. See, this is power. I am the voice of the voiceless. Do I have everybody's attention now? In anybody else's hands, this is a microphone. In my hands, it's a pipe bomb.
Is it really already Saturday again? Where does the week go? Hello and welcome to episode 5 of After the Bell, the extra content podcast for Hill Section 119. It's your resident golden ray of optimistic sunshine, Marlena, prepared to take over your technology for at least a few minutes this week. If you're new here, the point of After the Bell is pretty self-explanatory. I spew a verbal shit show about professional wrestling and things about it that piss me off. It follows my regular show, Heel Section 119, which is always available here on Spreaker.com. Plug, plug, plug. Let's make like the Republican Party and jump the gun. Oh, political jokes. That's the only one you'll hear here, I promise. So we're just going to jump right into it. The one thing that I don't understand, and I probably never will understand, is the appeal of reality television. I didn't get it when The Real World was a thing. I didn't get it when Survivor was a thing, which Survivor is still apparently a thing. I just don't understand why people like this stuff. Shows like The Jersey Shore, 19 Kids and Counting, The Real Housewives of Bumfucked Egypt, Toddlers and Tiaras. The list seems endless, but they all seem like wastes of time to me. Naturally, Total Divas is something I'm going to talk about as the first topic of this episode. Ever since the whole Total Divas travesty began, I couldn't get on board with it. I thought the idea of this reality show based around the WWE Divas was just bad, no matter how you looked at it. Then it came into fruition and was way worse than I could have ever expected. What's worse to me, even still, is there are legions of people who believe this is real life. This is the part that not only worries me, but irritates me. You need to look at the situation at hand here. Nobody has that much drama in their lives, for one. And if you do, you should probably check yourself. And for two, you can't be that catty, that bitchy, and that poorly put together and not have your face beaten in with a tire iron. I've never watched full episodes of Total Divas, but I have watched numerous clips from it. It physically makes my brain ache. Even though wrestling is scripted, I don't call it fake. There's a lot of physical risk that is always taking place every single minute of every single match. Total Divas, however, is a complete shit show from start to finish and a gross waste of finances. I mean, I get it. Humans love watching trashy television because it makes us feel better about ourselves and our own lives. This show is just beyond repair for me. I know people who like it, and for whatever reason genuinely sport it. Whatever. Do you, boo-boo. I just can't get the appeal and can't get behind something that causes an entire division of women wrestlers to act like catty fucking children. That's my biggest bitch. It already takes a weak division, an unsupported division, and makes it look so much worse. Good job, WWE. So, one thing I've said for years, nothing beats a wrestling show live. I've had the pleasure of seeing some of the bigger promotions, and the energy is always really good. My first wrestling show actually was a TNA event back in 2008, and from there I've been able to go to a couple WWE events, Ring of Honor, and of course NXT events, with them being centralized in Florida, where I currently live. I've turned numerous friends onto the sport, if for nothing else, the live show atmosphere and experience. So that's one of my favorite things in the world. Now, as with any good thing, there are bad things, right? One thing that aggravates me beyond anything else are people who go to live shows to complain. I'm not talking about mild grievances here or there, but a straight out bitch fest the entire show and have no regard for the fans around them who are just there to enjoy themselves. Nothing is a cock-blocking buzzkill like this kind of behavior. I've seen this firsthand, and I've seen it a couple of times at NXT events here, but it's really not as common at NXT shows as far as I've seen. I mean, it kind of makes sense, all things considered, since even with non-stacked show cards, NXT shows are pretty solid. The way I see it is if you're going to go to a show to nitpick and complain, why not just stay home and do it there? It makes a lot more sense to me to do that and keyboard warrior all over social media to your heart's content, rather than being a huge downer at a show with people actually around you. Just like you, these people paid to be there because they want to be there. Makes sense, right? Do you know what happens to people like you, perpetual complainer? You end up being a fucking punchline on some asshole's podcast on Spreaker.com. Do yourself and everyone else a favor and stay the fuck home. Because one of these days, you're probably going to meet a steel chair to your face. Shut up already and enjoy the show without your stupidity spewing freely. Put a muzzle on it. It's WrestleMania season. It's supposed to be the Super Bowl of sports entertainment. It's supposed to be this big be-all, end-all hoopla. It's supposed to be this incredible, over-the-top, insane gift-wrapped happiness with a pretty bow for us to marvel at and feel inspired by. Not with the WWE writing staff on duty. Oh no. Why would they ever allow us something like that? Mind your attitude, fans. You're asking a lot here. The final topic of the week revolves around poor build-up to big events. It's not just WrestleMania that suffers this fate, but it's events like SummerSlam and the Royal Rumble as well. Usually pay-per-views are decent. I'm not going to say they're great. I'm not even going to say they're good half the time, but they're watchable. Not nearly to the degree that they're hyped, I decree, but they're decently entertaining and worth a watch through. The problem lies within the writing. This WrestleMania is solid proof of that, more than usual, which is kind of surreal to think about. The Raw and SmackDown events leading up to WrestleMania this year have not only been lacking in luster and lacking in development, but have been outright boring. We tend to review weekly happenings in Heel Section 119's shows, along with other various tidbits of information regarding the sport and the industry as well. But this has proven to be a challenge with how god-awful uninteresting events have been recently. That being said, I am still hoping that WrestleMania itself is good, or at least decent. With NXT TakeOver Dallas having taken place on Friday night, I'm waiting to see if it actually does live up to the hype and overshine WrestleMania. One of the many things that WWE needs to learn how to do is to properly book things leading up to these monstrous events so people actually get excited and stay excited. Without that momentum, your event falls flat. It's lazy. Pure and simple. That's how you lose steam leading into these big events. I think, though, from a fan's point of view, that you should do more video packages. That would for sure move things along and keep things moving smoothly. Morons. When are we finally going to get that cure for rabid stupidity that we so desperately need? I don't know why things are so difficult. So, speaking of TakeOver, we touched base on the event from Dallas, as well as our WrestleMania predictions on Heel Section 119, which is now available on demand on our official Spreaker page. The link is in the episode description below, as it usually is. Head over there and enjoy the show in full with a lot of mayhem and madness as we prepare for the granddaddy of them all tomorrow night. The show will be making its way to our Roku channel and YouTube page also. If you have Roku, you can click the link in the description to add the channel to your device so you have us all the time at your fingertips. You can also head over to the Heel Section 119 Facebook page and get interactive with us. Find us at facebook.com/Heel Section 119. Give us a like and chat with us about professional wrestling. You can also talk to me there about random happenings and what have you about professional wrestling that irritate you, and it could be featured here on this podcast. We're not that scary, I promise. For Heel Section 119, this has been After the Bell. As always, I'm Marlena. I'll be back with another arousing wrestling therapy session next week. I'd say you could call me Dr. Feelgood, but that'd be false advertisement. Later.